Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Captain Kyle and Kelly in the house. So please, everybody, there is a picture of Captain Kyle on the wall. If you have a question for him, please put it underneath the comments there. If you'd like to ask Captain your question, please feel free to raise your hand, and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast. Also, everybody, please be careful who you listen to, what you're putting into your mind, and who you're following. It is absolutely insanity out there. So be careful, everybody. Also, too, I'm going to be quick because Captain Kyle's in here. But also, too, if you come in late to the podcast, everybody, we're being listened to in over 100 countries. You can follow the podcast host on the podcast host, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. The social medias are all verified except for the Revival of America on YouTube, the Jenny Jareed on True Social. I'm waiting for those verifications, everybody, and I'm doing the verifications so you guys know that these are my legitimate accounts because unfortunately, myself, Captain Kyle, and all of us, we have these imposters that like to say they're us and try to ask you if you're ready for the scare event and stuff like that. Please don't fall for it. Let us know. Make sure so we can make sure they're not in our channels. And the social medias are Jenny Jareed Facebook at Jenny_Jareed X at J Jareed Rumble at J Jareed Instagram at J Jareed True Social, the Revival of America right here on Telegram, the Revival of America YouTube. That is a new one. It's a week old. And then also too, my TikTok at the official Jenny Jareed. Also too, everybody, if you have a story or a journey you would like to tell, please reach out to me at the Revival of America at yahoo.com. We'll get your stories, your voices on the show because remember, it's your voices, your stories that are going to help shape this new world that we are walking into. And last but not least, go sign up for the newsletter, everybody. It is free. You'll get the latest updates on the podcast as well as the weekly show lineup. And that is at the Revival of America. No, it's just the Revival of America.com. No at, just the Revival of America.com. And with that, I want to welcome Captain Kyle and Kelly in the house. What's going on, my friends? Happy
Hello,
Liberation Day.
hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
What
So
a
what are your
wonderful
thoughts?
day.
Yeah, did you watch the speech with Trump?
So I got to watch part of it. I haven't watched the whole thing. But you know, really what this is all about is putting things back the way that they're supposed to be with the republic, what they stole away from us. But also, it's really a public service announcement to the normies that have no idea how things are supposed to be and how everything is going to be ran because they've been kind of in the dark. Yeah, we've had a lot of information over the years telling us all of these things and bringing all of us along this journey. But the average Joe that's sitting out there just watching CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC crap, they have no idea about any of this stuff. And this is really purposeful for them. Not so much as for us. It validates us, but it's really for educating them on how things are supposed to be and where we are moving forward into.
And I think too, Captain, what a lot of people need to understand, I think they're having a hard time wrapping their mind around it. They're saying, a lot of people are saying the tariffs are bad, this, that, and the other. But in the long run, in the beginning, it may be a little bit of a pinch, but in the long run, it's going to be a much better place for us. So can you maybe elaborate on that? Because you're 100% correct in what you're saying. This isn't for us, it's for them. Because we are already seeing, I mean, the speech just got over maybe 10 minutes ago. We're already seeing the left and all the libtards out there freaking out, saying it's obliteration day, it's recession day, this is going to cause chaos. Like, you know how it goes. So can you maybe touch on that a little bit, kind of explain to people that may not understand how these tariffs are going to work in our favor?
Yeah, well, all right, just to put it in simple perspective, if a lot of these countries and companies all of a sudden had to raise their prices on top of what they are to actually be able to deal with these reciprocal trade and trade tariffs, they wouldn't be able to. And so, if you got to think, if a company all of a sudden has to raise its price by 40 or 50% so that they can survive the changes, nobody's going to buy the product. And if nobody buys their product, they're going to go out of business. And so a lot of companies, corporations that are very unstable in their financial situation are going to suffer greatly. So there's going to be a lot of companies, minor companies and major companies, that are going to fold because of this, which is a good thing, because then that will now open the door for a good company to be able to come in and actually open the doors of whatever products those may be, if the public wants them, but wants them here, not from China or not from Vietnam or some other bullshit place. And then those prices are going to be actually very beneficial and good and well made, because made in America. That was the big thing back in the 70s. Man, it was like everybody always looked for made in America products and labels on things. And when Sam Walton first opened his doors for Walmart, that was the key selling point for Walmart, was that most of all of the things that he was putting in the stores at that time was made in America. And that's where he grew to the size in which it did. Now, it changed over the years. Of course it did. Why? Because of the corporatization of everything and how they basically moved everything offshore and continued this process, because that was the deep state plan altogether. So just with that one thing in mind, that alone is going to bring in jobs and products here in America, made by America, by Americans, that are going to be well paying and good actual jobs. On top of that, whenever you're not taxing the people and you're taxing the countries, then you don't have to tax the people, because there's no point in it. Just like he said, up until the 1913 and so on and so forth, and they decided that, the Federal Reserve came in, and then we're going to start taxing internally and not externally, so it gives the rest of the world a break. Well, that break never ended. It just continued and got worse and worse and worse. And it put all of that financial burden on the backs of the American people to go into debt and to never get out of debt, ever. And so he made the announcement that he's going to have the largest tax cuts in American history. But what are those tax cuts? Are they complete tax cuts? Because going from an internal revenue service to an external revenue service, because that is where we're headed. And if that is where we're headed truly, then that, scalping of your paycheck before you ever even get it put in your bank, of between 25 and 35%, just think how much money, actual money, that you'll actually have to buy whatever you want. And the turnaround from that is that also the products that are made in America will actually go down as well, because of the way that they're going to be taxed, because their tax burden is going to go down as well. And all of it is plus, plus, plus for the American people and your financial situation, as well as American companies, because it is a major burden for employers to have to do income taxes for their employees. That if that is removed, that changes the narrative for them, even with them being at a lower tax bracket, because that's what they're going to be put into because of being American made. And then all of our actual tax that we would pay is on a flat tax on consumer goods. one time, not time and time again. And it's only on new products, first time, one time only, not necessities, but, you know, like a house, pay a tax on the house. Well, if you buy that house and it's a year old, then it's not to have to pay taxes on it anymore because you already, the taxes of the house was already paid the first time. Same thing if you buy a used car. You don't pay taxes on it over and over and over. That is a means of being able to continue a tax burden for the same product over and over and over again. You're going to have where the registration taxes are going away because once it's registered the first time, you don't need to keep registering it every year so that they can continue to tax you for a license for that vehicle to be able to be yours. So all of that is smoke and mirrors by what they're putting out there. It's going to just completely change the landscape of our financial situation, the country's financial situation in a very, very short time. In the interim, in the change, it's going to be a little difficult because there's going to be companies that try to impose that tariff onto its price, which that price will go up. But what's going to happen is people are going to say, oh, shit, I can't pay that much for it, so I'm not going to get it. I'm going to get this other one instead that, oh, yeah, this one is much better because it's half the price and it's made up here. It's made in America. So get the fuck over it, people.
Go, Captain. I love you. That was awesome. All right. Thank you for that, Captain. That was a great explanation, by the way. And you sound great today. You're coming in. I mean, you always sound good, but you sound much better for some reason today. Are you on your earpieces again?
I am.
Oh, you are? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you sound a little louder, but you sound
So
good.
I was, and this is what I'm going to do is I'm going out and I was going to buy, and I was looking for it earlier when Kelly texted me about the Trump being on for the speech. I was actually looking for, one of those external microphones that you use for, for like video blogging, all that other kind of
Yeah.
crap, right? So I was looking for one of those and they didn't have what I wanted. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get me another microphone that's specifically dedicated for my truck talks, just for people so that they can have me come in as clear as I possibly can and have no issues. So anyway, that's what I was doing. And you know what's funny is before we actually get started, just give me 2 seconds. So, last time I apologized to everyone because I was really in a bad mood because I really got sick and tired of people bitching and moaning and crying about shit that it's just ridiculous, right? So I apologized because I turned it into an hour of me complaining about all of their complaining, and I didn't really intend for that to be that way, and I apologize because people came here to ask questions and have answers, and I didn't really provide that, and I apologize for that. But you know what was really funny is I actually got DMs for people bitching because of that too.
Well, and that was a day too that I think you had lost your brother-in-law, so it was a tough
I
day.
did.
So
Yeah, we did.
I appreciate that, Captain. I wasn't offended by it by any means, and I understand. We're out here in the trenches of it, trying to give people our free time and the best knowledge that we're getting. So I appreciate you, Captain. I know everybody does. We all have bad days, but I think
Well, I just wanted to apologize. Just to, that's the way I felt about it. Is that I shouldn't have done that, you know, even if I have the reason to do that, I shouldn't, and I apologize for that. So just forgive me for that.
Of
and we'll move
course,
on.
you're forgiven. You were forgiven already. So, okay. So before we go into questions, so there's this, I think it's misleading out there. We're hearing there's this news out there about Elon stepping down in May.
No, that's
So,
all bullshit.
okay, yeah, well, and
Yeah,
that's what I was just getting ready to say, because the White House has come out and said it's fake news, and that's again, everybody, you need to really pay attention to these narratives, because these narratives are being spun big time, and even the one with the Virginia Guilfoyle Roberts, I am questioning. God bless her. I'm not really sure what exactly happened there, but the pictures of her in the hospital, she's got her jewelry on, she doesn't have the gown on. It just, a lot of things seem a little fishy. A lot of the comments from her dad, and then some people on the Epstein side, it's just a little fishy right now. So kind of
so
wait
from
and
my
see how that pans out.
understanding is that she was in a car wreck.
Yeah, supposedly a bus hit her at 110 kilometers, I believe, which would have been like 70
Yeah,
miles an hour.
yeah. Well, anyway, I don't believe what you hear. Most of it's bullshit, and
Things aren't always as they
um,
seem, everybody.
it's not. And like I said, and then she tries to come out after the fact and start walking her story back and things of that nature. So it none of that makes any sense. What does make sense is that she probably screwed up, got hit by a fucking bus, and then she was just being retarded. And so um
Well, from what
don't
I'm
I don't put any
understanding,
stock in that kind of stuff.
Well, from what I'm understanding, a lot of these people are getting caught. They're gonna have to start testifying. When it comes to these Epstein dealios again. I know she already has, but some people are getting called to.
Yeah,
Not,
but they most of this has already happened. And you know, if we're finding out about everything, just know this, that if it's coming into the public arena area, it's already happened.
So here's a good way for you guys, because we always say we're watching a movie, right? So I put on the wall, and I'll drag it down again. Wag the Dog. That is a great show that you can watch. You can share with your friends and family. That basically it shows you exactly what they do. They create a whole movie scene to distract from, say, in this movie it's a sexual, the president got caught in a sexual situation. So they create this whole movie thing, so people believe, and then they start a war and all this stuff. So check it out, everybody. That's a good way to kind of understand what we're talking about with that. So with that, everybody, we're going to open it up for questions, everybody. So please raise your hand. I will unmute your mic once we get to 550 participants. I can't see the hands raised. So I do have a few hands raised right now. So Melinda Wright, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Captain Kyle your question.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Jenny, Kelly. God love you for everything you're doing, and you're greatly appreciated. So Captain, maybe this is a speculation question. XRP. And I know I've heard Rob Cunningham say this. Do you have any comment on whether or not this would eventually get to 10,000 to be fully $10,000 a share, to be fully functional, or what can you share, even if it's your own opinion on XRP? Thank you.
So they have actually done calculations that actually show what the value of XRP needs to be for it to actually work as a utility coin operating as gold backed and being able to move currencies the way that it is designed for. And it is actually to be valued over $100,000.
Wow. Any timeline on that?
When it happens, it's going to happen. So
Okay.
no, and
Okay.
it's more than likely going to take some significant jumps when it does initially, and then it may pause. But as the overall development finishes with the complete understanding of the transformative change that it's going to take on, then at that point, it's going to be exponentially just going through the roof. And so, Bitcoin was a designed operation to see the functionality of a digital coin or digital asset, which is really not an asset, it's an energy consumer. But it's not a utility, it doesn't have any real purpose. And in that, it was a test of seeing what it could be valued out at and having absolutely nothing that is sustainable that actually truly backed it.
Yeah, no, you
And
guys.
it went over $100,000. And so that was the test of seeing its functionality within the public realm. It had
Got
purpose.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Captain. And Kelly, please bypass the question I have on the board. I just got done asking it. Thank you so much. You guys all have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you, Melinda. And Captain, real quickly, can you touch on real quickly before we go to the next speaker here, the Wisconsin Supreme Court election they had yesterday? Obviously, they won, so we got a lot of people out there saying it could be detrimental to us in the future. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not going to be detrimental in the overall scheme of things. The situation that was going on there is that they were trying to redistrict the lines, so to speak. And in doing so, it would have changed the representation that would be allotted for Washington. And it would have caused the loss of Republican House seats or Senate seats. Not really sure right now, but it would have caused the loss of those, and it would have been detrimental in that aspect. Now, as far as the other stuff that's going on, most of this is all show and tell, so that the people kind of sees the potential corruption within each state, within each governmental body within the states as they are moving forward. Because in all reality, none of it means anything, because we are actually under a continuity of government and a limited martial law. And in that, none of their representation or none of their rulings or verdicts or voting means a hill of beans. It's all for show.
Exposure, everybody, exposure. So again, when I say you got to be careful these narratives that are being spun out there, because that's a narrative that I'm listening to being spun out there regarding this win in Wisconsin. So remember, exposure, exposure, exposure. Don't fall for that, because these narratives are being spun big time. So with that, Gittle, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Ask Captain Kyle your question.
Hello, friends. How y'all doing? Y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, Gittle.
I just hit my button in case I got over 500 and I can get picked. So here we go. I didn't really have a question, but I was just wanting to compliment Captain Kyle with all his shows are heartfelt, spiritually driven, and him and Kelly and you. Obviously, I know you pretty well. Y'all are just so divine and uplifting. And even when you're angry, Captain Kyle, you still deliver a good message, and that is just who you are, and that's what makes you so special. But if you
Well,
don't mind, could I read the definition of liberation? There's six
absolutely.
quotations. So there's six of them, and then have you comment on.
All right.
All right. The act of liberating or a state of being liberated. Number two, the act or process of trying to achieve equal rights and status. The process of striving to achieve equal rights and status. The attempt to achieve equal rights or status. The act of liberating someone or something, that's us. The termination of someone's employment, quotations, the corporation, leaving them free to depart. I just thought that was important because for me, it's the freedom thing, you know, to be liberated is to be free from. And what Trump also hit me kind of hard was everything happens at midnight tonight with the tariffs and plus much more, I'm sure. But anyway, love your show, love listening to you, and that's really all I got.
Well, I appreciate that, and and that is exactly what this journey is about. It's about liberation, and in liberation comes true freedom, which none of us has ever known. All we've known is a false sense of freedom because we were all duped in thinking that we were free. And in this process of the awakening, we have not only become freer individuals because of what's going on around us, but also the most important, which is our spiritual liberation and setting our hearts free from the chains of this world. And I don't mean the physical part of this world, I mean the matrix parts of this world, that we can still be in this world and live within it, but not be of it. And I mean truly of it, as the word says. And that's been a very difficult journey for a lot of us, knowing, and I mean really knowing, that everything that I do on a daily basis of just going through my normal routine to live day by day doesn't mean a hill of beans, really, in the big scheme of things, and that it's all just going through the motions. And the harder that it becomes is the more that you know. The more you know, the harder it is to get up and go to work every day and to do the things that are mundane to the matrix way of functioning, and that I have to find purpose in those things that really don't seem to have any purpose in the long run. And so, even with like my job and me hating it so much, the good that comes from what I do is it gives me the ability to have proprietary information that I don't bring to the table, but I bring the viewpoints from it. And the other parts of that is that the things in which I do are something that sustains our manufacturing base that we must have until the new technologies come out and we go through the changes within society. And so it's kind of like one of those necessary evils until we don't need it anymore. And so that's where I find my purpose, and going through the day in, day out matrix bullshit, the way I see it. And sometimes it gets really difficult. And, you know, I work long hours, and it's not a complaint. I would work long hours and a lot of hours. And it's like, it still has purpose, even though I know the real truth behind everything. And that's where it becomes sometimes difficult for me to pull my bootstraps up and continue to go day in, day out and work for those, you know, trading my time, which you never get back, for those hours to be paid. And if it wasn't something that was important in that aspect, then I probably would have quit a long time ago. But just my perspective.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Ghetto. All
Thank
right.
you. I just want one more thing. I don't have a bromance for you, Captain Kyle, but I'm damn close. So keep up the good work.
Oh, that's a good one, Ghetto. I like it. All right, Miss Vicky, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
I guess you're speaking to me, Vicky Scroggin.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you all for all the time and hours that you give to us. And I know it takes away from other things that you could be doing. And I just want to thank you for all that. I loved Captain Kyle's explanation of the tariffs and how that eventually is going to make all the things cheaper for us, which will increase our lives a lot with less taxes on everything. But my question is, I'm on the fence about what to do with paying taxes for this past year. I've always, been a law-abiding citizen and paid my taxes, and I just wondered if
So
you could give us some direction on that, and thank you very much for your answers.
yeah, if you feel that way about it to that point, which is okay, then just what's the thing? I'm looking for the right.
Extension?
Yeah,
Extension?
just do the extension. It goes to like September, October. By then, a lot of the stuff is going to change significantly by then. So just do an extension. It doesn't hurt to do it. It's not, you don't get penalized for it. So just do an extension.
Okay, thank you so much. And then maybe one more question, if I could.
Sure.
Elon Musk has alluded to the fact that there's going to be a big arrest this week. Do you have any insights or thoughts on that?
Yeah, but until they actually bring that forth publicly, then there's a reason why they haven't said. So I'm going to keep it there.
Okay, thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Vicky. All right. Kelly, Gwendolyn, you can ask Captain Kyle your question, and then Kelly, you can go ahead and read your 4 questions there. Go ahead, Gwendolyn. Tyler, your mic is unmuted.
Thank you for everything you all do. It's not been easy for us, so I know it's harder for y'all because you've got the challenge of all of us bombarding you with questions like mine. That's probably something someone's already asked a million times. And it's petty. It's about XRP and XLM. I know XRP is the main token or asset, but XLM, is that going to be used within this financial system? And if it is, do you have any idea where it might go in price?
Yeah, so XRP is a institutional token. So that's actually designed for the transferring of funds for institutions, bank to bank, and making that actually happen. The XLM is going to be used as the people's money. It's going to be something that is kind of like our usage of the transfer. So if you're transferring a large sum of currency from here to somebody that's in England, and say $10,000, whatever, then you could use your XLM to transfer monies to that individual. But in the process, it's going to facilitate from institution to an institution, from my understanding. And so what it would do is it would actually convert to XRP, and then once it's received there, then it would actually be converted back into the XLM back at that receivership. So, and we're talking about instantaneously. So it wouldn't be something that would be any kind of delay like Swift is and all that other kind of crap. But those transfers are based on the same thing like Swift does, where you actually, if you were to go into your bank account, and I even got a notice from my credit unions, and it's actually in my app already, to be able to transfer monies institution to institution, where was only possible through like a wire transfer. You could always, transfer monies within the same banks, like from your account to somebody else's account or from multiple accounts that you have. But they're preparing for right now being able to transfer monies from one institution to another institution, like two different credit unions, instantaneously. The same as like when you take from your savings account, put it into your checking account, and it's there as soon as you finish. It'd be the same thing going from this credit union to that credit union instantaneously. And so all of this is coming online, and XLM is tied to silver. Gold is tied to XRP, and the value of it is, in my understanding, going to be very significant because of the manipulation of the silver prices over the years, that more than likely, when this all finishes and comes to the washout, that silver should end up somewhere in the vicinity of where gold is actually at right now, and then gold somewhere in between $30,000 and $40,000 an actual ounce for where it's actually, should be at. But we'll have to wait and see on exactly where that all washes out. But XLM is also very important, even though people don't talk about it. I own a bunch of it. And like I said, it's going to be tied to the value of silver. Silver should be somewhere around the price of what gold is right now, which is a little over $3,000 an ounce. So take that for what it's worth.
Thank you so much. Like everyone else, I'm excited to experience the true freedom that's coming our way. Thank you again for everything.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. All right, Miss Kelly, you're up, my friend.
All righty. Best Prez asks, Trump says we will have to wait for Congress to pass this big bill. We know there's no sitting government at the moment. Does this mean we will have to have a special election? Captain, did you hear
I'm
that?
thinking how I want to
Okay, I
answer
just
this.
didn't know if you heard me.
No, yeah, I heard you.
Alrighty.
I hear his truck in the background.
Yeah, because I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know how to answer that question. Because there's different possibilities of having Congress right now pass something that is some temporary thing, because in all actuality, it doesn't actually mean shit. It's just a roadmap on what they're doing right now, which is possible because that's what a lot of things that are happening right now is. It's all road mapping us out of the constraints of the corporatization that has happened to Congress, the laws, and America, and moving us over into a republic step by step by step, and doing it relatively quickly. So it's not like something that would be a long period of time. So they could actually pass a significant legislation, so to speak, of tax cuts and um, easement in that area. But when we actually are formally brought into the Republic, at that point, everything will need to be actually redone in its permanency of the Republic. What actually truly stands, what actually is the law of the land moving forward. So could we have something moving us forward towards that right now? Yes. And once we are actually formally brought into the Republic, then everything done, as so to speak, for permanency in that aspect, yes as well. So that was a very good question, and it was very difficult for me to be able to answer it in a way that is understandable. I hope I did.
I think you did a great job. Thank you, Captain. Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, Quantum Patriot asks, are we still headed towards a period we need to be prepared for, or is the awakening process going so good that these scare events won't be necessary anymore? You're
No,
awesome, Captain Kelly and Jenny.
no, we still are going to have to go through that. There's a purpose in it that breaks the construct of the matrix completely. And so everything appears, and that's looking at things visually by the world standard, that things are getting better, even though we have these situations going on around the world. And it looks that, like, personally, things are all headed in the right direction. But the thing is that the carpet is going to be yanked out from underneath it. And this is on purpose so that the break of the construct of the matrix has to fully happen. It's like you can't rebuild something until it's torn down. And basically right now, what we're doing visually is we're putting a new coat of paint on something that is dilapidated underneath.
Okay. The next question is from Holly. You and Bob Kraft mentioned someone being brought forth who would be important bringing in this country together and away from division. Can you talk more about that? Bob mentioned the fifth American president. Thank you.
Yeah, that's something that will actually have to happen. And this is what is taking place with the reformation of proper jurisdictions so that we can move forward into the correct lawful jurisdictions that are inherently necessary for us to move forward as a sovereign nation and people. But who that individual is, we don't know. And I got speculations, but that's all it is. And I'm going to keep those speculations to myself. But it will be very healing for not only the country, but for the world.
Okay. Teresa asked, will they still be going ahead with the year-long celebration?
Yes, but I don't know when that's actually going to start. That's been a very, that's been a really difficult thing to try to figure out, and it's been very tight-lipped. Initially, it was planned from Memorial Day of this year to July the 4th of next year continuously. But then it's also been brought up that it may actually start potentially on July 4th next year. And so I really don't know. And the thing that is the key factor is that the president has not talked about it either way. And until he does, that'll be the confirming statements that we will go by. But until that actually happens, because initially the statements that he made was Memorial Day starting of this year. And that was said several times. But then nothing has been brought back to preparing for it publicly. Not that they're not doing it behind the scenes. That is not what I mean. Is that it hasn't been spoken or mentioned since then. Well, since he became after he came in office publicly.
He put the executive order at the end of the January, announced it. It's on the website, but nothing has been updated. And then what I was thinking is that he's got to get all these governors to cooperate with this. And I'm not sure if there's still more cleaning of the houses in a lot of these blue states in order to do that.
That's a yes and no. He doesn't need cooperation from any because we're under continuity of government. None of them have any authority whatsoever, just like the courts have no authority. But they're playing it out publicly so that the public can see it. And that may be what they're doing with the governors, like you were talking about, in a public type situation, like how he just bitch slapped the governor of Maine and stuff, right? So I don't know. I don't have a definite on that. I wish I did, but I don't.
Okay, Jan asks, what was in the first EO he signed today before the tariff one? And unfortunately, the mic of the the guy that helps him out and explains the executive orders wasn't on, and you could barely hear him. So I don't know, Captain, what
I
the
don't
first
know
one
either. I
was.
didn't get to see that part. Like I said, I've only seen parts of it because you texted me. It was already going on. I was in the middle of the store, and I haven't been able to see the whole thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, we'll post on it as soon as I have time to research that. But when I was listening, you could not hear what he was explaining it to be because his mic was not on. Okay, the
Yeah,
next question's
thank you.
from David Hall. Captain, why do you think the Dems were allowed to win the seat in Wisconsin Supreme Court?
Exposure.
Yep.
Exposure of the corruption.
And they did get the, especially because they got the ID passed, which makes no sense because the same people were voting, but yet they passed the needing the ID, you know?
Yeah, So if those were real Democrats and that really truly happened, then other Republican points would not have passed. And it's all an exposure of the corruption. Just like that's what I said in the very beginning about Wisconsin, is that it's all a show for the public.
And if you do your research on that judge, she's a piece of shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but it is what it is.
Well, that's how, words describe things the way that they should be, and they have point to them. Just like if you were to say, oh, well, she was just a real piece of turd. Doesn't have the same carry as that she was a piece of shit.
Hey, it's real raw talk here, right at the Revival America. And we've experienced that. So all right. All right, Kelly. My turn over here on the front side, or you still got a couple more?
Yes,
Okay.
your turn.
All right, let's see who is next. Okay, Colorado Mama, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Captain Kyle your question.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a privilege to hear what you're saying today. I wanted to address a couple things from the speech that our wonderful president said. He said it starts at midnight, and he said it twice. And everybody might have thought it was just tariffs. I think there's probably some other meaning to this, because some things that I anticipated we might hear inferences to, maybe we were hearing this like a tabletop deal, Captain, but we're expecting the ERS, the External Revenue Service, to present its lovely head soon. In order to do that, I think the USN has to come out, right? And interesting thing happened when the speech was going on, because we're looking at all the different symptoms. I'm the mad scientist, looking at all the different symptoms that are going on. And the stock market lost more than $2 trillion in 20 minutes after these announcements were made. Just a little symptom. So the message sent here, and what are your thoughts? It starts at midnight because the bankers are all sweating and having a code brown. The market had a code brown, and something has started. In your opinion, are we closer to some of this ERS being announced and the USN coming public?
Yeah, we are actually closer to it. That's where, that's why earlier when that lady asked about her taxes and so on and so forth, to just file the extension, because, there's a lot of stuff that has to do with, if you're going to file taxes, who are you actually filing them with? Are you filing with the IRS? What's the purpose of your taxes right now? What are you filing that you made less than $150,000 a year, and that you aren't required to pay taxes at all, which they've talked about? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. What the fuck am I supposed to be doing as far as my taxes? Because none of it's been clear, and the tax guys don't know what's supposed to be clear as well. And so how am I going to be able to pay taxes and pay them legitimately if I was actually going to right now? Because nothing is defined in what my responsibility is in the old way that I was supposed to do that. And so I think it's very significant between today and the 14th on clarification of exactly those things. And to do those things, yes, you would have to actually switch to a external instead of internal. That was a lot of the things he was referring to today. Made a very point about that. That's how the country was ran. That's where the country was so profitable. And why did they go and start actually taxing the people and giving the rest of the world a free ride? Well, that free ride is now over with. It's not going to happen anymore. And not only is the free ride over with the tariffs, but we're not going to give you all of these, subsidies anymore on allowing you to basically have a free ride. So, yeah, I believe that there's more to all of this than just the tariffs, meaning that the subsidies and everything else, just the free money is going to be turned off as well.
One point up the chart he showed, I found quite fascinating, is that he showed the tariffs on Israel would be 17%. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and the funny thing is that, Netanyahu says that they've eliminated their tariffs against us so that they can have reciprocal of nothing as well. And it's all a joke. It's all for show.
List. We see the last thing here, guys. Do we see this scare event imminent? Is this down the road into the summer, do you think? What is your best throw the dart at the wall kind of thing?
It's imminent. It's approaching relatively quickly. And it's going to be based upon biblical terms as far as the standoff with Israel, Iran, and a potential nuclear circumstance.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Colorado Mama. All right. Connie from West Virginia, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Connie. Hit the blue button in the middle of your screen.
Well, hello. I didn't realize I had pushed it. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Captain. With respect to weather, I know, Captain, you had mentioned several weeks ago that the extreme situations were quote unquote planned. In your estimation, what percentage of our daily weather would you say is planned or formed?
Shit, man, I have no fucking clue. Just to be honest with you, because it's been so screwed up and nothing makes any sense anymore right at the moment. And so I couldn't tell you in that aspect, just to be honest and to be straight, because some has purpose of repairing the environment, repairing some of the damage that's been done to the soil and everything else. And then you have some other, manipulation with the geoengineering for, causing other bullshit. And who's doing what right now? It's very difficult to say without having all the facts. It would be such a just blind toss of the dart trying to just hit the wall.
Okay, thanks. I think we're all excited to find out what our natural weather actually is. Thanks again.
So all right, so go back. How old are you? Not just exact, but do you lived in the 60s and 70s?
Yes.
All right, so do you remember how our weather patterns were back in those days as being a kid?
Yes.
Those were more normal. And the weather patterns that we're having now are far from that.
Gotcha. Yeah, when you're 50 degrees one day and 80 the next, it's hard to follow.
Yeah, and it depends kind of where you live. Like in Texas, that was possible a lot back then, right? But in other places where they had more, go back and look at your Farmer's Almanac. And your Farmer's Almanac would tell you the history of like the weather back in, the 70s. You could get like the, old copies of them and stuff like that. And 60s and 70s of the Farmer's Almanac talking about the weather and how things are, and looking at the difference between now and then. You will have some based upon climate change, not their climate change, but just normal climate change. But as far as what we're experiencing right now, even to where the floods, the storms, the tornadoes, and all of the crap, none of that's normal. None of it.
Yeah, I can believe it. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Connie. All right, Linda Franklin, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Captain Kyle your question. Go ahead, Linda. Linda Franklin, your mic is unmuted. And Captain, I can't tell you what a difference you sound so much stronger with what you got. So yay. Okay. Jen, I mean, what a difference. I'm gonna get kudos. And we can hear him. We can hear him. All right, Miss Janet, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Captain Kyle your question.
Okay, great. Thank you guys. Oh, I'm so blessed to be on here with you, Captain Kyle. Anyway, I just wanted to ask, I live in California, northern side of California, and our gas prices are going up through the roof. Is that part of Watch California when the Q drops? Because it's just crazy. Our gas prices, our grocery prices, nothing. And there's no, I mean, I'm paying $800 a month for PG&E in a little 1,200 square foot house. Is this Watch California? I just was wondering.
Yes and no. So a part of the whole thing is the manipulation of the criminal element in all of the governmental agencies of California. And they have to get to the point, and it's rapidly approaching, just like you're experiencing, that the people of California are going to get to the point where enough is enough and we're not putting up with this shit anymore. It's just like down in Southern California where the Palisades and everything is, and them talking about the rebuilding and everything. That what the fuck have they done so far? Squat. And it's still going through the bureaucracy of the governmental crap, and that it will break, and it has to be broken from the people within the state, because you can break it from the outside. Trump can come in, break it, so on and so forth, but you won't have true change that completely takes over until you change the mindset of the people living there. And unfortunately, you have to suffer through that, just like the rest of us have had to suffer through all of the knowing of this crap, and just like waiting for people to wake up, but we still have to continue to go through it. And so you guys are experiencing something different than people in, say, like other places are experiencing the storms and the tornadoes and losing fucking towns. And so everybody has their own storm that they're having to go through, their own individual journeys in all of this to eliminate this control that's been dominated over all of us. And so nobody's is the same, and nobody can discount somebody else's versus someone else's, because to them it's the shit show. They're in the middle of it, just like you guys are in for what you're talking about with your prices continuously going up, and your it's just crazy. And in my situation right here where I live, it's just the opposite of that. And we have different circumstances that are going on that are, as bad, but in a completely different way. So I feel for you, and I wish that there was something that could, change how it's going. But until the people finally say enough is enough, and we're not taking this shit anymore, then help will arrive, and it will change very quickly.
Well, I hope so, because I think California is pretty asleep. We have some red areas, but nobody's standing up.
It'll happen. It will happen.
Thank you for your great words. Thanks.
You're welcome. Some of it's going to come from the exposure of the entertainment industry publicly and fully, and how it ties into trafficking and how that's been going on by your elected officials, a part of your system, and it's all going to come crashing down.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Janet. All right, Miss Kelly, it is all you, my friend. I cannot see any more hands, so it's all you, girly.
Okay. Patriot 1717 asked, do you still believe in the EBS?
Yeah, we're going to have an EAS, and it will be a part of the global crisis that's coming. Because that's what the EAS is going to be for. It's not for individual stuff. I mean, even though we get them, and for, you know, storms and different crap and, you know, so on and so forth. But this is directly related to something that's coming that has to do with the entirety of the world.
Okay, L Dragonfly says, can you please speak to the similarities and differences between Bob Kraft's work, Our United Republic, and the entity of Rehabilitated Republic for the U.S. of America, which is Sandy, retired Lieutenant Colonel Sandy Myrecki, and others. Are they in alignment or opposition? Correcting status and jurisdiction are integral, it seems. So that's the group that like are kind of electing their own officials and the people are not.
Oh yeah. No, you can't. That, so and I've spoken about this in the past, that you can't install people into a republic because that's how you say that's how it's going to be. It doesn't, that's not how sovereignty, and that's not how a republic operates. And if it's not actually established and understood by the sovereign people, then there's no way that it can actually be what they're trying to make it out to be. Now, the jurisdictional things, as far as it goes, that yeah, these jurisdictions have to be established and so on and so forth. But you can't establish a jurisdiction and then install somebody that's over it. That has to be done by the people after the fact. So to do that, you would actually have to have a military control so that the military is actually jurisdictionally in control of everything, and then actually notify and elect by the people new governors and new state officials and all this that has to be done. Plain and simple. So
Okay.
until the military turns over civil control, they are in control and they are the highest jurisdiction until it's turned back over to civil authority and civil control.
Okay, Karen would like to know, Captain, is Liberation Day the end of occupation? No more POW flag at the White House?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay, Lorraine would like to know what happened to our Doge 5K? What happened to Nasara Jasara payout and blessings from God?
Nothing. Just hadn't got them yet.
I'm sorry. I don't mean Oh,
You're good, Kelly.
sorry.
It's all coming. It'll get to you when it gets to you. I mean, those kind of questions right there, the only one that can answer them is very few actual individual people that know, and this is all by design, on purpose, and the Spirit. Ask God. If God lets you know, then He wants you to know. If He don't, then He'll tell you to be patient and hold on. He's got it. Don't worry about it. Every time I go to God about those kind of things, that's what He tells me. He's like, son, I already showed you the other side. You've been there. So you know I got this. I'm like, yep. He's like, then don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm not. I just thought it'd be nice to know.
Yeah. There's timing. Timing is big. We don't know the timing and what's going on behind the scenes. So when it happens, we'll all know it. That's for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Our timing and God's timing are not the same timing.
That's
Never has
correct.
been, never will be.
And His timing is divine. Alrighty, Jeff, Q17 says, hi, Captain Kyle. Thanks for all you do. Thanks, Jenny and Kelly. Appreciate you all. When we RV and redeem our currency, many of us will become quite wealthy. Under Nasara or whatever it's called, do you think we are going to have to take the same level of precautions to protect ourselves physically as we do now? For example, personal security, along with protections from lawsuits and people trying to steal our money and all the other annoying things that our current society makes people have to deal with. Thank you.
At first, yes, but down the road, no. But at first, yeah, you will need to be very cautious about everything and to be very wise. The wisest thing is to keep your mouth shut, don't ever tell anybody, and to not be flamboyant.
Okay. Savannah Sunset asks, do you believe our... Okay, this was about the Wisconsin. Again, you've already answered that, so I'm going to move on. D-Mom says, hi, Captain Jenny and Kelly. Thank you for all you do. Any idea when corruption will be exposed in PA? Our school district is going to be going into receivership soon. Township taxes are being hiked, and state taxes proposed are massive. Something needs to break soon. Any ideas on when?
Well, all of this is happening right at the moment. I mean, individually in individual situations, then I'm not really for sure about, but overall things are moving and moving relatively quickly in disclosure in that aspect, because everything is being brought out into the public space, preparing the general public for when they actually do start, pulling the plug on things. The public doesn't freak out about it, because the public actually has to be somewhat informed about the level of corruption within the government institutions all around them. And most people, average Joe, still, even right now, are at the point where they know the government is corrupt, but they just don't know how corrupt it really truly is. And when you talk to people, yeah, they're corrupt, but they're not that corrupt. I mean, they're on the take. Yeah, we got that. That's how business is done. They grease the wheels and gets this contract, and it's all been this way. Scratch my back, I scratch yours, and they are corrupt in that aspect. But when they begin to find out how corrupt they are, that has to come in and change their perspective of just how literally evil they are. And that's happening relatively quickly. It's like you just have to see the amount of pushback that is happening from the misinformation of what Doge is doing with getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse within the governmental institutions. It's absolutely crazy to listen to some libtards actually talk about what they think they know about what's actually truly happening. They think the government's being completely taken over and democratized. And it's like, what in the fuck are you saying? Are
They're
you
very
just retarded?
confused.
And it's not that yes, they are. And I think it has to do with, them being dropped on their child as had as a child a few times. But could be that, it's the dye that they're using on their hair. And it's there's no common sense being applied. That's why that is being used so much in the terminology on trying to explain what we're doing, trying to move forward. But one thing that highly intelligent people, and intelligent doesn't mean that they're smart. It means that they have the ability to memorize and learn and regurgitate things in which they've been educated into. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're intelligently smart. Actually, people that are very, very intelligent have difficulties with schools and with education in that manner. And when you start talking to people that are very book smart, they usually don't have very good common sense or have street smarts
Ah ha
at
ha
all.
ha
Peach Poke, you owe me a Coke. So they don't. And that's what we're having to try to instill in people, is being able to have that common sense, street smart ability and applying to everyday functionality within just society, government, their daily life.
Amen. So right. So spot on, Captain. All right, Kelly, I'm going to take this one here on the front side, and then you can round us out with one on your side. So Cloud Blue, if I said that correctly, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Captain Kyle your question. Or excuse me, it's Cloud B, Cloub. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. All right, Kelly, go ahead and do the last two from you.
Okay. From Savannah, why do you think Speaker Johnson's really sent everyone home and shut Congress down? That was yesterday, I believe.
He was told to. That's as far as I'm going to go with that one.
Okay. And let's see, last one. Is it realistic that the needed laws will get passed to support the many EOs that President Trump has issued?
Yeah, it was kind of like what I was talking about earlier whenever I was saying that we were having to go through this transformation process of coming out of the corporate construct and into the actual sovereign republic stance. And so each one of the things that are being done right now have their purpose on stepping us out of and into the changes that we need to make and are going to make going forward. So the executive orders are a part of setting the direction, setting the framework and stance, and then the congressional part of that is doing the same thing, a transition period from out of and into the republic itself. Because anytime or anything is passed that is not actually of the republic and in the republic, it is basically null and void, because it is a policy or a procedure that has no bearing whatsoever as actual law over a sovereign people. So it's just the framework on stepping the public out of that controlled matrix of the corporate construct and into a republic where we are sovereign people and are in control of our future and our complete destiny.
Hey, Jenny, I think that was it for you.
Yep. I'm over here talking to a blue mic. I was just saying, great way to round this out, Captain. That was great. Everybody, great questions. Thank you here for participating. Captain and Kelly are here with me every other Wednesday. Look for the rescheduling of Dallas. We didn't realize that Trump was speaking the same time he was coming in. So we'll get that rescheduled, everybody, and let you know. And Captain, we'll see you here in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
All right, sweetie. And Kelly, you as well. Thank you for your help. Love you guys. Have a great weekend, everybody. Rest of your week. And we will talk soon. Take care, buddy. God bless. Thanks, Captain. Thanks, Kelly.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
See you later, guys.
Good night.